Hello, everybody. It's Dylan Milks here for Friday, March the 8th, 2013. I'm glad to be back with you all. It's been a while since I've recorded a video. And, I really appreciate YouTube for a lot of reasons. It really gives people a chance to share their viewpoints, to share their opinions and their thoughts on various topics in really a, non-threatening type way, which really encourages different points of view, especially alternative points of view that may not be expressed from the mainstream media. Today I want to talk about a recent trip I took to Florida. I spent 8 days in Florida back in February, and I always find it interesting going down there from the perspective of a Canadian. Of course, those of us who follow a little bit of American news, we always hear the debates going on there about the economy and what's the right decision to do and what's the right direction to take and this and that, and one of the things that I do when I was down there was I spent, I think on 3 occasions I went to bought groceries from a Publix grocery store. One time it was in Kissimmee, and twice there was 2 different stores in Fort Lauderdale that I went to. And one thing when I go grocery shopping is I always pay attention to the prices of everything that I'm buying, and kind of because I like to compare how the prices change from season to season, or how prices change from week to week. And I was really quite shocked at the food prices, particularly of fresh produce and some meats. Give you a couple examples. A couple staple items I buy pretty much every week would be Red Delicious apples and bananas. Now, in Canada at Superstore, those Red Delicious apples can vary in price depending on the season, anywhere between $1.49 a pound and $1.89 a pound in off season. And bananas are typically anywhere between 69 cents a pound up to 79 cents a pound in off season. Now, at a Publix grocery store both in Kissimmee and Fort Lauderdale, Red Delicious apples are $2.09 a pound and bananas are $1.99 a pound. Now, some of you might think, oh, well, Dylan, that's 20 cents a pound difference. What's the big deal? Well, it is a big deal. It's a big deal for several reasons. First of all, where were prices of food items 5 years ago? I don't think anybody, all of us remember taking trips down to the U.S. and always, coming back with as much food as we could take, especially those of us who live close to the border. And because of the prices were so much dramatically different than they were in Canada. But folks, here's the one shocking thing. Those days look to be completely over. Again, when the prices of some fresh produce are more expensive than what they are in Canada, other items are similar in price, if not the same, and the rest of the items are only slightly cheaper now in the U.S. And the thing that is worrisome about this trend is, of course, the fact that the wage structure in the States is dramatically different than it is in the U.S. Now, many jobs in the U.S. pay less than what they do in Canada for a similar type position. You can take anything. You could take a dental assistant. You could take a carpenter. You can take a plumber, an electrician. You could take any type of lower management position. A lot of these jobs pay less than they do in Canada. So to look through these prices in that context, I think is quite. You can really see the impact that this is having. In fact, oftentimes you hear on the American news programs debate about inflation and what's causing it and why is this happening and is it a concern or is it not a concern? Well, I can tell you folks, from having been down there on the ground and of seeing the inflation in the U.S. firsthand with my very own eyes, just how dramatic it is becoming. And even 5 years ago, you never would have even dreamed of the day where prices of fresh produce was more expensive in the U.S. than it was in Canada. Now, of course, we can all thank the U.S. Federal Reserve for this. And I know a lot of people in the U.S. are debating, what the right action is, should we have more bailouts, should we have more money printing and this and that. Well, you know what, folks? I really think that they've really started to unleash they've really started to unleash a monster, I think, in this whole quantitative easing, bailing out the banks, trillion-dollar bailouts, trillion-dollar budget deficits. I think that you're now starting to see the effects of that based on gasoline prices, on food prices, and just the basic necessities of life. And it's quite concerning, and really it's quite really puts things into perspective when you know that the wage structure in the U.S. is dramatically inferior to what it is in Canada, but yet you have prices that are now becoming just as they are in Canada. And now this just doesn't include groceries. This also includes even eating out at a restaurant. Prices of eating out at restaurants have also gone up dramatically in the last 5 years. So where am I going with this? Well, I really think that these next few years, I think, are really going to be tough for the average middle class and poor Americans, because man, when you're making less than you do would in Canada for an equivalent job, and you got to pay more for your food than you do in Canada, you know what, man, that's just a recipe for disaster. And you know what, folks, to all my American viewers out there, unless you guys get your act in order, to get your act together financially, both in a government level and at a personal level, and start living within your means, and stop printing all kinds of trillions of dollars a year and just debasing your currency to no end, you guys are going to get it really, really rough these next, the next several years. Because again, just the amount of change that's happened since the housing collapse has been quite staggering. Because for those of us who have been traveling to the U.S. occasionally for the last 5-10 years, we know that prices have always been dramatically lower than in Canada. But until now, you're seeing prices, prices are really competitive and on par with what they are in Canada. So folks, I just want to say that, I see what's going on there, and when you're on the ground and you see the price change and how dramatic it's been, it's quite shocking and it's quite concerning. So thanks everybody for listening. I certainly welcome your feedback and your comments. So take care, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.